This is Impact Healthcare, people and strategies that are disrupting the health benefits industry. And now, here's your host, healthcare benefits industry expert and the originator of the transparent health benefits movement, Lester Morales.
Hey, welcome everybody to a solo episode of the Impact Healthcare podcast. I became inspired to do this solo episode off of a post that came to me kind of in the middle of the night. And for those of you that have never tuned in, Impact Healthcare is a podcast that wants to highlight the people and the strategies that are driving change and value and impact in health care and health benefits, health insurance. This spawns from my life in my career. Unfortunately, I'm the human statistic. Both of my parents have passed away from cancer by the time I was 40 years old. My parents, during my dad's battle with multiple myeloma, had to file bankruptcy, even though they were both working parents who had health insurance through their work. But what family has $12,000, $15,000 every year to keep paying for healthcare services when they're trying to send their kids to baseball camp and put Z Cavaricis on their booties? My mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and she was always my hero in regards to continuing to push and believe in me. And so my whole journey from corporate America to entrepreneurship, to starting a business that's 100% dedicated to impacting healthcare. And this podcast is a result of this. And this solo episode came to me in the middle of the night as I was thinking about it. I read an article last week, and it might have been a post on LinkedIn that somebody had posted and showed the average salary of the CEOs of the major insurance companies. And they were all in the 12, 15, 28 million dollars. You would be considered in the 1% if you made that over your lifetime, let alone in 1 year. And I started to think about the word deserve. And I don't like to judge anybody else. I live with a mindset of abundance. And I think that there is more than enough for everybody. And we all have the opportunity to succeed and the opportunity to eat plenty of food and have plenty of value and success and all of those things. So it's not about, oh, I wish I had that money. It's more about the correlation between value and compensation. And I think about that the CEO of, I think, Cigna, David Cordani, was compensated $28 million, I believe is what the article said. It was a huge number. And I think about that says, okay, what's the value that was created by that organization? So I look at this and says, okay, healthcare, health insurance, let's peel those two things apart. Cigna, in this example, is a health insurance company. Their job is to create health insurance programs. And in the world that we live in today, the KPI, the measurement stick of an organization in the health insurance vertical is revenue. They're a publicly traded company. They're beholden to the stock price and their shareholders, and their fiduciary responsibility is to their shareholders, not to their customers. So when you think about that, I Cigna, Aetna, whoever, and I'm not picking on anybody. I don't think that these organizations are evil. I'm not even mad that somebody's making money. At the end of the day, I want to make as much money as possible. But at some point, we have to understand that the healthcare and the health insurance system isn't broken. It's completely designed incorrectly and has no incentive in the current way that it is structured for things to change. So when I think about, again, the correlation of value to compensation, I think double-digit rate increases for the last several decades, healthcare and health insurance and all of the cost in that vertical is nearly 20% of our GDP as a country, way more than any other developed nation. But we don't live longer. We aren't healthier. The reality of it is employers' top 3, typically top 2 expenses, health insurance, nearly $15,000 per employee per year is the new benchmark. And then when you start thinking about the consumer of it, the average person that has that policy, that is using it, a $2,500, $3,500 deductible, a $5,000, $6,000 individual out-of-pocket max, 67% of personal bankruptcies happen because of medical expenses. 20 million people are in some sort of healthcare debt. In no stretch of the imagination, no proper KPI is the results that health insurance and healthcare for that matter, but let's just stick to health insurance. In no form of the word KPI is the results indicating that that industry is performing well. And so I liken that to, and I'm going to caveat that I do not have children. I am 44 years old at the date that I am filming this. I have no children, and so I've never been a parent. I have 2 amazingly beautiful nieces who I love to death. I was texting with one of them this morning who just got braces. And I'm obviously around a lot of kids, so I'm going to caveat that I've never been a parent, so I don't understand this. However, I liken how health insurance is being ran, governed, structured with the 8th place trophy. Now, my brother is an amazing father, and he did this with my oldest niece, but I remember seeing an article about James Harrison, who was a football player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, if you know anything about him, he was a walk-on. He was an undrafted free agent. He wasn't the top of the top. He was not somebody that everybody knew and was on his radar screen, and he became one of the best. And so his son, I believe, came home with a participation trophy, an 8th place trophy. And he took that trophy away from his son and had the dialogue and the conversation that trophies are for winners. And that KPI of winning was the lesson that James Harrison wanted to have for his son. I remember my brother having this conversation with my niece and like, hey, I want you to show up. I want you to be a good team player. I want you to be a good sport, and that sportsmanship is important. But at the end of the day, you are a moralist and we are winners, and winners separate themselves from the pack. And I want you, my little daughter, to go around this world wanting to win. And I liken those 2 conversations to says, if we continuously give 8th place trophies to our kids and they get the bling, they get the picture, they get the endorphins off of a trophy, and we celebrate them in such a way, the question we have to ask ourselves is, what is the motivation to do better, to actually win, to improve yourself. If at the end of the day, you still get a trophy, you still get praised, you still get lifted up as if you won, in your mind, you have not separated let's call it the envy of watching somebody else truly win and saying, I want that. What do I have to do to get that? And if we're constantly giving that 8th place trophy, are we breeding an expectation of, I showed up, give me the same thing that the winner did? I see that in the younger generation as being an employer. I see that a lot where people are like, I've been working here for a year. Where's my raise? Did you get paid for that year? I think every day you came to work, you got paid. What value was created? What did you do to deserve more? Because you got a job. You had a job description. You accepted that job. We traded value for compensation. And now you're saying, I deserve more. And the KPI in their example is duration of time. I think it's fair for everybody to want to get raises, but I think as a culture, as a mentality, this 8th place trophy syndrome and the fact that, hey, if I show up, I deserve more is hurting us as a society. It's hurting us as an industry. But now let's bridge that gap in the conversation. If I am an insurance company and my stock price continues to rise, and as the CEO who is steering the ship, I continue to raise in compensation and make, let's call it athlete money, even though at the end of the day, the people who are buying my product are filing bankruptcy. They can't afford it. And my nation versus its peers is spending an extraordinary amount more, but we're not living any longer, don't have a quality of life that's better, and can't produce a KPI other than what we call premium, they call revenue, and nobody wakes up in the morning wanting to lower their revenues. And when you are a publicly traded company, your financials is what is your everyday wake-up mission. Is health insurance broken? No, it's working perfectly the way it was designed. But if we continue to reward the status quo, the normal, the 8th place trophy, with all of the praise, these are amazing organizations. They're compensated like crazy. Their stock price is rising. What is going to change? So my battle cry with this solo episode of Impact Healthcare is you, the audience, whether you're an employer or an advisor, a service provider, or you are just Johnny Lunchbucket who's interested in figuring out more about healthcare, we have to demand more. We have to change the system because the system is not going to change itself. The health insurance companies don't want change. They're making money hand over fist. They've got more lobbying dollars to lobby the government to make sure that change is incrementally slow. The reality of it is stats show that the lobbying that happens inside of the health insurance industry is more than the oil and defense combined. Are we waiting on the government to fix this, or do we need to take it upon ourselves to change this? So my battle cry, my first recognition is that, again, what you call premium, they call revenue. Nobody wakes up in the morning wanting to lower their revenues. They're rewarded and compensated more for the model in which we live in today, which there is no incentive for somebody to lower your cost as an employer. advisors out there, it's not going to happen. So I know you're waking up every day having to, it's Groundhog's Day. Thank you, sir. May I have another? My client gets an increase. I shop it. I lower it. I pass on more deductible, more out of pocket. And I get people really excited to pay more money for a shittier plan. That is the life that I lived for 15 years and I couldn't do it anymore. Hence why we're on this journey. But if you're listening to my voice right now, you have to understand that the 8th place trophy is what we have given and provided to the industry as a whole. And it's not changing. It's not broken. It's working the exact way it was designed. And so the battle cry is that as an industry, as an HR professional, a CFO, a CEO, an insurance advisor, an accountant, or just somebody who gets their health insurance through their job, the reality of it is we have to drive the change to align the incentives to stop rewarding the 8th place trophy, the industry that is producing terrible results. If we put the proper KPIs, lowering costs, improving health, member satisfaction. I mean, the NPS score on average for health insurance company is only a little bit better than cell phones and internet providers. The reality of it is that means that people are not living longer. They're not happier with the product, and they'd only rather not talk to their phone or internet provider. Is that what we intended? Is that our KPI as an industry? I don't think so. So my battle cry to us as an industry, we got to impact healthcare. And it starts with eliminating the 8th place trophy. It starts with measuring success, the KPIs, on a different level. And that all starts with aligning the incentives between everybody that is playing in the vertical. So I hope that this gave you something to think about. You're going to see more episodes solo-wise, trying to dig into some thought processes of, in order to make change, the mindset has to change. And I need everybody whose mindset is, oh, the health insurance world is out to help me, to understand there ain't no life preserver that's coming from there. You are the life preserver. You are the swimmer. You are the fighter. And if we build a community right, we're going to be a community of fighters, all striving to impact healthcare. Thanks so much for listening. If you like this, please share it. I hope that it sparked an idea. Please share this because, again, change is not going to happen unless we change our mindset. Stop with the 8th place trophy. Let's impact healthcare. Thanks so much.
You've been listening to Impact Healthcare, people and strategies that are disrupting the health benefits industry with Lester Morales. Remember, the journey to getting 20% savings on your healthcare benefits starts with total transparency. Remember to subscribe to the Impact Healthcare podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.